Good evening, everyone. I will call this meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. by formally recognizing the traditional keepers of this land and specifically our neighbors of the Alderville First Nation with a formal territorial acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that Northumberland County is located, that the municipality of Brighton is located on the Mississauga-Anishinaabe territory and is the traditional territory of the Mississauga. The Council of the Municipality of Brighton respectfully acknowledges that the Mississauga Nation are the collective stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. I will also advise that due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, this meeting will be held using various formats. Some members of council and some senior staff are present in council chambers, and some, along with other meeting participants, will be joining us electronically. The public is invited to join us by viewing this meeting live on the Municipality of Brighton YouTube channel. I will also note that once we proceed into closed session, the live YouTube stream will end for the duration of tonight's special council meeting. And I will ask that anybody present in council chambers please take an opportunity to silence any electronic devices at this time. With that, we move into the approval of the agenda with a motion moved by Deputy Mayor Vink and seconded by Councillor LeBlanc that Council approve the March 8th, 2021 planning meeting agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Members of council, do you have any declarations of pecuniary interest? And if so, please state the general nature thereof. There are none noted. We have no delegations this evening, which takes us into the statutory public meeting. Before we enter the public meeting, I am asked to read this information which comes out of the Planning Act. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Municipality of Brighton in respect of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment, before the approval authority gives or refuses to give approval to it, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Municipality of Brighton to the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or written submissions to the Municipality of Brighton in respect of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment, before the approval authority gives or refuses to give approval, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. If you wish to be notified of the decision of the Municipality of Brighton in respect of the proposed proposed zoning bylaw amendment, you must make a written request to our municipal clerk, Candace Doran. And with that, I have a motion moved by Councillor LeBlanc, seconded by Councillor Rowley, that Council move into the March 8th, 2021 statutory public meeting at 6:33 p.m. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Are there any opposed? The motion's carried. So there's one item in our statutory public meeting this evening, and it is file number Z14-2020. The purpose of the public meeting is to request a decision of council on a zoning bylaw amendment for the application Z14-2020. The applicant is Rod McLean. The location is Part Lot 29, Concession 2, Long Reach Road. And Mr. Walsh, by what method and on what date was notice of this zoning bylaw amendment application given? We're having minor technical difficulties. Mr. Walsh, you have the floor.
Through the mayor, notice was given on the 12th day of February, 2021 to all property owners within 120 meters of the subject property. Notice was also given to the relevant agencies under the Planning Act, and a sign was posted on the property.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. And would you please explain the purpose and reason for the proposed zoning bylaw amendment and what it will accomplish?
The application for the zoning bylaw amendment is to remove the holding symbol from the special exception 34 zone, rural 34 zone. By removing the H symbol, the property will be eligible for the construction of one single detached home and accessory uses.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Does the applicant wish to make any comments this evening?
Can you hear me?
Just barely. Mr. McLean, give us a second, please.
Yeah, I don't know how to get the volume up on this.
One moment, please. Go ahead, Rod. Try now.
Yeah, can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, the purpose is to remove the H holding zone from this property. And my purpose in doing so is to be able to construct my house up at the top of the hill, well away from the other houses. And I have a proper entrance in there now, and everything is in good order. And I would hopefully this will go through and we can proceed. And I don't wish to cause any consternation to the other residents there on the farm. And yeah, there was some concern about the possibility of a multi-unit building being put there, but that was never anywhere near true at all. That was totally incorrect. So I'm looking at a house for myself up there on top of the hill, and hopefully we can do that, and we can all coexist happily together there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McLean. Are there persons present or coming in electronically who have questions or comments regarding the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application?
I do, sir.
Yep, please state your name for the record.
I'll just confirm you guys can hear me okay and clearly.
We can.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Just want to introduce myself. I'm Ryan Hendry. I live at 238 Long Reach Road. So this proposal today is obviously going to affect me the most out of this, considering it's surrounding my whole property. I do have a few questions, so we'll try and get through them as much as possible. I'm sorry I'm not fully read up on the obviously all the zoning and things like that. I do appreciate your patience. First one was to clarify all the areas that are intended to be severed, areas that were severed, and were they all approved? Because to be honest, the reason why I bought my property and I built off Rod himself at the time, it was disclosed that I was the last land to be severed, and there would be no other opportunity for any other further construction around that property. And that was the sole reason why I bought it, and I've built the house that I currently reside in now. So that kind of undoes everything. If this goes through, it defeats the whole purpose of why I moved out here. So that's just kind of the first thing, is that can we clarify if there's any sort of visual representation of what places are intended to be severed? Because the information that's been passed on, whether it be through the mail or whatever, it seems to keep changing. So I would just like some clarification on that, as far as what is actually being severed at this time, or what is being intended to be severed.
Absolutely, Mr. Hendry. I'll get you to ask all of your questions, and then when we wrap up, Mr. Walsh will be able to answer those questions in his final comments.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right then. Second, the lot that I guess you could say the space that was, I think, originally intended to be severed between my property and my neighbors, Mike and Tanya. I'm sorry if I don't have their address off the top of my head, but the space in between us, the 1.5 acres that was in, I think, the initial proposal to be severed, that whole area was completely wooded. And before even the pit for that area to be severed, that whole wooded area was cleared out. And I'm just curious as to when you do something like that, even though it's on your own property, I'm pretty sure that if you're going to impact the environment, you have to get signed off on that, or some sort of assessment just to give you the go ahead. I'm curious if that is one of the things that has to be done here, and was that approved? Because the space between that acre almost between me and my neighbors was fully wooded and treed, and then it was cleared out, obviously, to have a house built on it, or some sort of residence constructed there. So I want to know if that was approved, or does it need to be approved to do that? And as far as third question, as far as the surrounding the farmland that's behind me and beside me, if this proposal goes through, can it be changed in the future to go from one single residence to multiple residents? Can this land be sold to a developer, where then all of a sudden, instead of one home being built, it can be then be up to the developer deciding how many lots that they can sever and build around? That was the third question. And fourth question, a well has already been dug and installed in the space between my house and Mike Cantagna's. I just wanted to know, was that approved? And was there any sort of environmental impact done on that before the go-ahead? I find it very odd that someone would invest a bunch of money into digging a well before even being approved to sever the lot. Or if it has been severed already, and we haven't been read in on that. Once again, it goes back to communication. Things have been pretty foggy. And then finally, through all these different severance proposals, was the proper environmental impact assessed by the township, or the, I guess you say, appropriate authorities, for lack of better terms? And was it determined that construction can go ahead and take place? And was it signed off on? All the lots that have been assessed really, once again, have they been signed off? And then finally, I believe that's it so far. Right now, it's just been as far as information, what can and can't happen, and have all those things been approved and signed off by the appropriate institutions, authorities, for anything to take place? Because I find it odd that, without getting into the personal lives, I find it very odd that someone would want to build a house on right beside the lot that they just lost to their ex, and then live beside them. I find that incredibly odd, and that's why I'm very curious as why this is being done. I've never heard or seen anybody do that ever in my life, and it just doesn't seem right. No, it doesn't make sense to me. So I just want clarification of what is actually going on, and what are we signing off on here?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Hendry. And before I ask if there are any other people present who have questions, I would note that we won't be delving into the question about whether or not Mr. McLean, what his reasoning is to build where he's building in terms of his personal situation. And I would also note that this is not a severance application. This is a zoning bylaw amendment. So the lands in question are already properly apportioned. It's just a matter of whether we will remove the holding this evening to permit the building of a dwelling on those lands. So those are the questions, but that doesn't preclude any of your questions that you've asked. I just wanted to make that note. So I would ask the clerk or Ms. Lambert if there's anyone else present who wishes to make comment or has questions with regard to this evening's zoning bylaw amendment. Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments regarding the proposed zoning bylaw amendment from members of council? There are none noted. Mr. McLean, as the applicant, do you wish to make any final comments? He's muted. You're muted, Rod, just so you know.
I've never done this before, so. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to just make a couple of comments. I actually missed a little bit. I couldn't hear a little bit of what Mr. Henry was saying at first there about the severed lot. But let excuse me. Let me carry on. There was there was never any intent to build to have anything go in there that would destroy the I guess the country look to that place. My family bought that in 1963, and I would like to keep it the way it is. It's peaceful and quiet there, and so there's never going to be multi-units in there of any kind. I don't know anything about the well. I don't even know who drilled that well in between you and Tanya's place, but I have no idea. It really didn't have anything to do with me. And when we cleared out the brush there was some smaller trees there. Yes, they were kind of just scrubby stuff that had evolved over the last 7 or 8 years, I think. And the lot was kind of rough. So we removed those trees and that brush and the sumac, and then Norm Ibbotson came in and helped clean up the lot, so it was smoother and better looking. And let's see what. And I will respond slightly to myself. When I was in a relationship recently, which I'm not in now, my purpose was not to build there. But I'm not in that or any other relationship right at the moment. And it's always been a dream of mine to put a house up on top of that hill that overlooks Lake Ontario and Prince Edward County, and beautiful lot. And it's very quiet back there, and there's, it's a real good place to retire to. So also, yeah, as far as living by the X, I think anybody that knows me knows that I generally get along with most people, and I have a degree of acceptance. So, and I'll be up on top of the hill, and that should work out just fine, I think. I think I missed what you said at first, Mr. Henry, about getting some kind of information regarding what the possible outcome for the center lot would have been at the time. I couldn't understand exactly what you said. My speaker here is not very good tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McLean. Mr. Walsh, final comments, and please address the questions asked, if you don't mind.
Yes, Your Worship, through the Mayor. Mr. Henry, just to respond to some of the issues that you raised there to help provide some explanation, just to reiterate what the Mayor had said, we're not dealing with any severances, any consents here. We're only dealing with the existing lot fabric that's in place. And if you have if you recall, maybe on page 8 of the agenda, it shows what the subject lands are. Those subject lands are really just subject to this zone amendment. So we're not looking at the subdivision of those lands. In fact, the road frontage there would be insufficient for any further subdivision. The road frontage is only is the minimum right now, so it wouldn't be eligible for the further severances. In terms of further development on that subject parcel through multiple houses, that would require yet another zoning bylaw amendment. So there would be full public notice in that event as well. But having said that, the official plan for the municipality of Brighton doesn't contemplate subdivisions in the rural designation such as this. I think you've heard some explanation about the wooded area. That is a separate lot from this application. That's a separate owner. I guess the current applicant had some history of ownership there and did some work on that. That 1 acre lot right along the road, that's where the well and the wooded area are. And if I understand correctly. And we, as a municipality, do not have a tree bylaw in place, so people are able to remove brush and trees and shrubs without permit. There was consideration of the place to grow at and the hydrologic features that are not so much on this property as on adjacent lands. And we see in terms of comments on this application that the Lower Trent Conservation Authority are indicating that an EIS and hydrologic evaluation are not required, that there's sufficient buffers in place. In terms of where the home might be built on that property, the zoning bylaw requires certain clearances from side lot lines and front lot lines and this sort of thing. So the building does need to be set back and with some respect to the adjoining owners. There is a natural place for a person to build the house. We've heard from the applicant just now that the intent is to build on top of the hill and that the entrance will have to come from the terminus of the fully maintained public road right at that turnaround. That's the only place for that entrance, and that's where the physical entrance currently is. In terms of the well is really governed by Ontario Regulation 903 under the Ontario Water Resources Act. Yes, there are some planning policies that can be applicable at the time of constructing a well, but that's only to deal with other developments more than one lot. And we would ask for a hydrogeological study, for example, but never really for one lot. And I think that might be a full response to your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Do you have any final comments?
No further comments, Mayor.
Thank you. So I've gone through all of the official questions with the exception of the last question I normally ask, which is council prepared to make a decision this evening? But I want to make sure that we've fully vetted the questions that the member of the public who's taken the time to zoom in here may have. So Mr. Hendry, I will give you an opportunity if you have any further questions or if you have follow-up questions to the answers you've received from Mr. Walsh and Mr. McLean.
Yeah, at this point, it's like the big overall arching thing is just clarity of what's happening literally surrounding my property. Because I don't even know what's the spot where the well has been dug. That land was originally put up as a proposal to be severed, the additional extra severance that you're supposed to get approval on. I didn't even know that was even approved, or the fact that during the time, if there was a chance to vote on it or whatever, I was deployed at the time, so I was unable to attend that, and seeing as how that would, affect my life as far as having more people around me. I'd missed on that, and I do apologize, but I definitely wouldn't have voted for that land to be going ahead and severed. And then the other thing is, how has that been done? Have the other owners, were they approved to do, like I said before, the construction that they've currently done? As far as semantics, it wasn't a couple shrubs, it was a full wooded area. It completely blocked the sight lines between my house and Mike and Tanya's. And then after that, just full transparency on what is actually going to be happening around surrounding my property, and has it been approved by the appropriate, I guess you could say, authorities. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Walsh, do you have any comment based on that? I didn't really hear a question, but
no, I don't think there's too much more to add, Mayor. I think all I can say is we did follow the notice requirements on the Planning Act. So I know maybe the mail hasn't been quite as efficient with COVID, and maybe be some hiccups there, but we did follow the regulations of the Planning Act for full notices. And I think the fact that these lots already exist, and I think they were created, fairly recently, there might be some confusion there. I did receive some calls from persons who thought it was dealing with a consent. I don't know where those notions came from, but I think that maybe got raised as a neighborhood issue and got talked up and talked around and gained some momentum. But in this case, those lots have existed for a couple of years, and they were reviewed and assessed as eligible for development through the course of that review and approval. And now we're just dealing with basically a provision that is a matter of issues that are really just in the control of the owner, and are really not meant to address things that are of widespread offsite nature.
thank you very much. So now I'll ask if council has any, a wish to make a decision this evening. Yeah. And I know that you have a question. I'll entertain your question when I've read the motion.
Okay.
Fair enough. So I have a motion moved by Councillor Tadman, seconded by Councillor Bateman. The council receives the staff report dated March 8th, 2021 pertaining to zoning bylaw amendment application file number Z14-2020 under the name of R. McLean requesting the removal of holding symbol, and further, the council passed the zoning bylaw amendment as prepared for this report. Councillor Bateman.
Just a quick question, and I think I already know the answer because Paul spoke to it, because we've had the speakers tonight, but we also received the correspondence through the clerk's office from another individual, and their official reason for being opposed to lifting the H hold, in their words, was they had not received a letter. I'm assuming they're within the 120-meter buffer and they would have been in that catch basin. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I acknowledge that part. Okay.
To your worship, just to respond to that, I did get a call expressing concern of not receiving notice, and I did verify that that person was on our notice list. So what happened between us sending out notice and it not getting to the mill, I don't know.
The property was signed.
And it was signed,
Yes, thank you.
as I observed.
Any further questions? Councillor LeBlanc?
Through you, Mayor, to the planner, you weren't here, but this council, that's one of the first lots that I walk, because every property we walk it. Councillor Bateman and I went there. That was the first lot we approved. There wasn't a well on it at the time, but when I went there this week to look at it, there was a well. It meets all the standards of Reg 903 under walk, and it is tagged, so it was done legally, and it has all the proper casings and stuff on it. So I looked at it as being a past well driller and understand that with the license. Coming to the Hydro G, isn't it 5 homes or more on a small lot where you would ask for Hydro G study for?
Through your worship, the council, yes, that's correct. And when we, Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks guidelines, D guidelines make reference to when hydrogeological studies ought to be done, and it's normally at the concentration of 5 or more severances. And in the provincial view, severances are about 1 or 2 acres. So you draw from that the maximum density at which you can go before you probably should do some kind of assessment, even if it's just a minor assessment of a couple of test wells, and that's it.
Yeah. One more. I just want to say thank you for your service, Brian Henry, being a retired military man myself. So thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councillor LeBlanc. Anyone else? All those in favor? Are there any opposed? The motion's carried. And that's the only item in our statutory public meeting this evening, and I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc, that council move out of the March 8th, 2021 statutory public meeting at 6:58 p.m. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Any opposed? The motion is carried. And thank you, everyone, for participating in the statutory public meeting. It's appreciated. We have no planning and development reports. We have nothing under unfinished business, which takes us into bylaws. And the bylaw is with regard to the zoning bylaw amendment we just discussed, moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Bateman. The council gives a bylaw its first, second, and third reading and finally passed on this date, being a bylaw to amend the comprehensive zoning bylaw number 130-2019 as amended. That Schedule A, Map 8 to bylaw number 130-2019 as amended is hereby further amended by changing the zone classification from the Special Rural 34 Holding Zone to the Special Rural 34 Zone pertaining to the lands described as Part Lot 29, Concession 2 in the municipality of Brighton. Is there any discussion? Are you able to bring Councillor Tadman up so I can? Thank you. Call the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion's carried. Which brings us to question period. Madam Clerk, are you aware of any persons joining us to ask a question this evening? Ms. Lambert, do you see anyone coming in? Thank you. Which takes us to our closed session And once I've read the closed session, we will take a 10-minute recess. It's moved by Deputy Mayor Vink, seconded by Councillor Rowley. The council resolved itself into closed session March 8th, 2021 at 7 p.m. Pursuant to the Ontario Municipal Act, R.S.O. 2001 as amended, subsection 239(2)K, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board, specifically soil sediment results and current site conditions. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Are there any opposed? Motion's carried. We'll take a 10-minute recess and reconvene at 7:10. For those of you joining us on YouTube, we will be ending the YouTube video for the duration of the meeting. Thank you.